Hey everyone, just coming to you with this public service announcement. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it is the easiest way to make a podcast. So let me explain. First and foremost, it's free to do so. You don't got to come out of your pocket. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and a whole bunch of others platforms. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. That's why I got on it. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. All right, peace.
Where you going, Mo? Back to the grove. No, I can't stay. No, I gotta go. No, I gotta grow. Blowing like water. Walk through the gates, my drops got harder. Felt like Nino, all in the corner. Felt like a tree. Yeah, tallest in the garden. Part of myself, I think I'm ballin'. Part of myself, I think I'm ballin'. Back to the grove, better than stove. Need me a queen, don't need no hoe. I need no hoes. I cancel that trip. Bad daughter love you, you know that ain't it. A little bit of mud and a little bit of spit. I can see men like trees walking. I can see Lucy talking. That's all of them one keys. Smoking tree and knowledge. Now I got the munchies. Aiming for perfection. Standing on my square, cause Allah is my protection. My God and my salvation. While they waiting, stop the hating. While they waiting, stop the hating. Where you going, Mo? Back to the grove. No, I can't stay. No, I gotta go. No, I gotta grow. Blowing like water. Walk through the gates, my drops got harder. Felt like Nino, all in the corner. Felt like a tree. Yeah, tallest in the garden. Part of myself, I think I'm ballin'. Part of myself, I think I'm ballin'. I rise in the spirit of the seven, giving all praise to Allah, my honors to his prophet, noble Ali, for the purpose of uplifting fallen humanity, returning the keys of civilization, back to the Asiatic nations in North America, for amongst the children of Africa. There is much wisdom to be learned, blessings, honor, power, and glory to he who sits on the throne, and to his Lamb, forever and ever. Amen. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my
Islam, can you hear me more?
Islam, or I can.
Okay. Look like you were here twice.
Said twice?
Yeah, maybe I just accepted your request twice. I don't know. It's kind of crazy. But, yeah, what's going on, bro?
All is well, man. Just enjoying this beautiful Saturday, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Beautiful indeed. Indeed, man. So, as you probably already know, we gotten a very good response from our last build. You know what I'm saying? I put it up on the YouTube, and you know, a lot of people, you know, expressed how much they liked it. So, you know, I'm definitely happy about that. Again, this is Metaphysics Moor with masterminds, Brother Shem L. You know, we try to do this on a regular, where we just build on Spotify Live. And so peace to everyone. And with that, you know what I'm saying? I know me and you had spoke real quickly, conversed real quickly, that we're going to continue the second part of this aspect about the descendants of Adam and Eve. But before I begin, is there anything you want to speak on?
All is well.
Oh, indeed. Okay. All right, then. So one of the things I wanted to talk about specifically in reference to what we're going to get into, I know the last part of our last conversation, I spoke about the 12 powers of man. And so I want to use that aspect to segue into what we're going to speak on in reference to, just basically this conversation about the descendants of Adam and some other topics as well. But I had the opportunity to speak to a good brother out of Charlotte, Sheikh 7 Islam Il. I actually sent him an invite. So if he accepts, he'll jump on this as well. But we were speaking about, the aspect of those 12 powers in relationship to the 12 disciples or the 12 disciplines. And he basically brought this to light. So I want to kind of do that to segue into what we're speaking about. He talked on the 12-step ladder, right? So we know we deal with correspondence in the aspect of these lessons, which is very important. So he talked about the 12-step ladder, and he talked specifically about where we can find, certain things pertaining, going further deep into the 12-step ladder within Moorish Holy Quran, the Circle 7. So I kind of want to, deal with that. One of the things is that the 12-step ladder is used to describe the 12 virtues that must be taught to Moorish children. So these lessons are mentioned in detail, okay, within the Circle 7, specifically chapter 23, verses 8 to 13. So I'm going to take the time to read that. And it says, teach him obedience, and he shall bless thee. Teach him modesty, and he shall not be ashamed. Teach him gratitude, and he shall receive benefits. Teach him charity, and he shall gain love. Teach him temperance, and he shall have health. Teach him prudence, and fortune shall attend him. Teach him justice, and he shall be honored by the world. Teach him sincerity, and his heart shall not reproach him. Teach him diligence, and his wealth shall increase. Teach him benevolence, and his mind shall be exalted. Teach him science, and his life shall be useful. Teach him religion, and his death shall be happy. Now, if you get to break down each one of those teach them, every time it says teach them, if you count those, it's 12 of those. So that would be the 12-step ladder in the context. So each one, if we break that down, you have obedience. Obedience is a state a child attains when they obey their parents, right? Modesty is the unwillingness to draw attention to one's carnal self. Gratitude is a state of being grateful. Charity is the provision of assistance to those in need. Temperance is moderation in thoughts, words, and deeds. Prudence is the ability to govern oneself through the use of sound reasoning. Okay? That comes from the Latin word prudentia, meaning of foreseeing foresight or practical judgment. Justice is the quality of being just. Sincerity is the state of being sincere. Diligence is the virtue of hard work. Benevolence is the disposition to do good unto others. Science is the process of observing, studying, and experimenting to comprehend natural phenomena. And religion is one's own relation to divinity, according to law. So when we look at that from that aspect, we can also see in terms of the relationship to the 12 powers of man that is spoken about, that we spoke about the prior week. So I was telling the brother that when we look at our Moorish Holy Quran, we see that there's 3 key numbers that are repeated in there. And it not only is repeated in there, but also in pretty much most spiritual writings, most of your scriptures, and that is 3, 7, and 12. So in some case, in some scenario, some form or another, when you read these holy texts, you're going to see the usage of the numbers 3, 7, and 12 repeatedly. So taking into that account, I know we spoke about, like I said, the 12 disciples. You have the 12 tribes of Israel, 12-step ladder. You know, we talked about those 12 gates. Specifically, in the 21st chapter of the Book of Revelations, the 12 gates are divided up in 4 sections, each section containing 3 gates, right? When you read chapter 5 in the Circle 7, when it speaks about the 12-step ladder, it says it's a trinity of steps. So that's 3 sections of 4. You know what I'm saying? So in reference to the 12 gates, going back to that, those sections are distinguished by the directions of 4 directions of north, south, east, and west. Okay. There's a book written by John Rush that talks about the 12 gates, specifically of the underworld. So the 12 gates, now this is dealing with, now when I say about the 12 gates of the underworld, that connects to the ancient Kemetic teaching. So the same concept that is mentioned in the Book of Revelations, you actually will find in the ancient Kemetic teachings. You know what I'm saying? With the 12 gates of the underworld, that's also known in ancient Kemet as the duat or amduat, right? Which literally means that which is in the afterworld, or, you know, translated as a text of the hidden chamber of the underworld. So the reason why I want to get into that is in reference to the ancient Kemetic system, right? We all know that Noble Drew Ali, he was an Egyptian adept. You know what I'm saying? He was taught by the adepts in Egypt. So this information, this science, is the science that the Moors were the custodians of, as mentioned in specifically Stolen Legacy by George G.M. James. It speaks about that. So this is all Moor science when you all put it together. So when you speak about the example of the ancient Kemetic mystery system, the duat is the realm of the dead, right? So the duat is the realm that the god Osar or Osiris and the residents of the other Neteru or the deities dealt with. Now, the interesting thing about Osar or Osiris, as he's commonly known, is that he's known as the Lord of the Perfect Black, right? So if you're dealing with the Lord of the Perfect Black, right, in our Moorish questionnaire, the question is asked is what is meant by the word black? Black, according to science, means death, right? So when you deal with that, you see the connection of Osar being the Lord of the Perfect Black, and then he rules the Duat, which is the realm of the dead, right? And dead is not a negative thing. It's not evil thing. You know what I'm saying? We learn in our lessons that death is no enemy to man, it is a friend. It's basically to cut that tie that allows you to smooth on in the sail of sea. In other words, you transcend from the physical, finite world, the plane of things made manifest, to transcend into the higher planes of existence. You know, the spirit, soul plane, and on into the spirit plane. You know, just to keep it simple. But that duat being the realm of the dead, right? That when they break that down into saying it has 12, specifically 12 gates to pass through. So that's supposed to be the realm where the soul goes through after death for judgment, according to the ancient Kemetic text, right? And so you're traveling from west to east during the shadow hours of night, right? And then you have to encounter a pep, right? The ancient deity, a pep or Apophis, right? Which they kind of associate with as the serpent or Satan in that context. So you see where a lot of these writings come into play dealing with this information dating back. You know what I mean? So, and just to keep, I'm just going to keep into the context of the science of the 12, right? This journey is supposed to take, according to the text, that journey is supposed to take place within the span of 12 hours, more or less. And the sun has to reach the four directions of north, south, east, or west within that circle of time. You know what I'm saying? So it's the story of man perfecting himself, the soul going through the judgment and traveling into the underworld, by which they can go ahead and learn those lessons, which ties back into chapter 1 in Circle 7, where it speaks about, man having to face those lessons on the plane of soul. You got what I'm saying? So I just want to get into that concept. So a lot of the concept of what we call it in hell, you know what I'm saying? Being down in the ground and things of that nature. One of the aspects of that comes from ancient Kemet, about that being that realm of place of judgment. You know what I'm saying? But it wasn't a bad thing in that context. Though, later on, institutionalized religions such as Christianity came and made that being a thing of bad. You know what I'm saying? So that whole concept of when you die, you're going to get judged, and then, the aspect of thrown in the lake of fire. And we can get into that, a little more into that. But I just want to speak to that, and see if you had anything to say to that, Brother Leos.
Islam, yeah, I'm following you, and it's definitely a beautiful demonstration. And I'm pretty sure if anybody that has ears to hear, it's gonna set their soul on fire. So, especially if they caught the last episode. So, I get what you're saying, and those 12, like you said, teaching them those 12 virtues. To me, like you said, the angel's a message. So, those are the messages. And those are to me, that's just what I'm drawing from it is, those 12 angels at those gates are the messages, and those are the messages that we got to get, to, those 12 gates in order to, what we spoke on last time, I guess, like those 12 them cranial nerves up, but as well, yeah. I just wanted to add on as far as, Islam. Give me 1 second, please. As far as like death and hell and, things of that nature, like some people look at it from a spookism point of view, but that's, they've never heard it in any other way. So, it's a good thing that they're able to hear it from a greater portion of understanding. So, just to tie that back into last episode, as far as, the descent nature, something that came to mind after we had went our separate ways was that, Lucifer, like you said, is the light bearer. It's highlighting these things. You know what I mean? We're able to see. We know when we're right and wrong. You know what I mean? It's written in our hearts. You know what I'm saying? So, we know what's right and wrong. And so Lucifer, to me, you know what I'm saying, it's highlighting that. You know what I mean? It's the light bearer. So Satan, like you said, is the adversary. Those are the thoughts. Those are those messages that's going against, that's going against what what our true nature is, and that's to be one with Allah. Islam, is this picking up?
Islam, I'm hearing you.
Okay. I was just making sure. So Satan, the adversary, is those messages, those thoughts, because thought is the cause of it all. So, Lucifer, like I said, is the light bearer. It's bringing light to, the situation. And Satan is the adversary. So, and it all starts with thoughts. Our thoughts create our reality. So, those thoughts that are of a lower self nature, those are the thoughts that we're instructed to crush under our foot. And the other thoughts we're supposed to tame to our purpose, So, and like you said, what is an angel? An angel is a thought of Allah manifested in human flesh. And what is the duty of an angel? So it's those messages, you know what I mean? And like you said, those 12, mathematics is the language of the universe. So, there you can always find the correlation somewhere, because all of life is bound by cords. So, say Lucifer, Satan, devil, what is the devil sometimes called? It's the lower self. But is the devil made in the image and after the likeness of the great God Allah? No, he's a shadow of our lower self, and he'll pass away. So the devil is a shadow of the lower self. So you know what I'm saying? And it is the lower self, but it's a different, I guess you could say, aspect of the lower self. And these characteristics or these natures let us know that, that we are in a state of hell. You see what I'm saying? But we have to be aware in order to be alive. You know what I'm saying? That, and we have to be honest with ourselves, because the truth will set you free. So once we can identify our lower self nature, then we can do something about it. But if we're not truthful with ourselves, we can't do nothing about it. So, Lucifer, Satan, devil, the devil, he has a specific task. Lucifer, Satan, devil, dragon. We spoke on the dragon being the government, right? So, but the devil being that shadow, it's always, and there's scriptures that speak on, being accused, accusing us before the Father day and night. He's standing before the throne. Well, from my portion of understanding, the throne is that gland, that is the seat of the soul. And, the soul is the one that's willing the contraries. So, it's basically one and, it's one and the same. So, that dragon is that, like we said, that corrupt government. So that dragon being that corrupt government. And then we have the beast, right? Which, we gave a description of what the natures of the beast was. But if the dragon is the corrupt government, this beast to me is also the system. It's a beastly system. And because of the fall of man, and I don't always, associate the fall of man as a bad thing. Cause it's like you said, there's certain people with ideologies came along and, they made us think death as a negative thing and, things of that nature. But that beastly system, when I got to thinking about it, I said, what? I said, wow, okay. So this system is designed to keep you, in the character of a beast. That's just my portion of understanding. So, to descend, and we spoke last night, I spoke with some more about, action being heard delight. The word D is to, descend, you know what I mean? So, yeah. So I just wanted to share that. And as far as, those 12 virtues, those 12 gates, like it's all of life. Like I said, all of life is bound by cords. So that's definitely a message that I was able to receive, and all praise to Allah for, giving you that, that knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to share with us. And something else I wanted to add on, Islam, was, the word Quran means, to recite. So when we use that hammer in the workshop of the mind, we're able to recite our literature without necessarily looking at it. And once it becomes, a part of every part, then we'll start to produce those actions and behaviors concerning those 12 virtues. You see what I'm saying? So, as well, like, you know, as Allah blesses me with his treasures, you know, one of the first chapters that I ever had on Cap was the chapter gratitude, and I think I chose that because, you know, I was trying to, you know, I was trying to find my way out or whatever, you know, but I think I chose gratitude because it was the shortest chapter. So I was like, let me begin here. And once I had gratitude recited and I had it on Cap, I started to notice the blessings that Allah was giving me in life, and I'm able and still am to make connections that, you know, that's coming off of that chapter of gratitude. And I'm honored and I'm blessed to be able to, you know, have a prophet like Noble Drew Ali, because it is through the prophet Noble Drew Ali, you see what I'm saying, that we're able to receive this divine gospel. And yeah, if you want to add more, if you want to get deeper into the aspect of hell and other things of that nature, I'm definitely open to doing that. But something else that came to mind that I wanted to speak of too is, you know, I know you covered the book of, you spoke a little bit on the book of Malachi, and I've seen a demonstration, you know, similar to when we're speaking about the beast, as far as Dr. Malachi York. He gives a similar demonstration as far as, you know, the book of Revelations, and then he gives you, I think it's chapter 12, and he gives you another scripture to add on with that, and it's coming out of the book of Malachi, like you said, which means our angel. So with that being said, Mo, I yield the floor.
Islam. Yeah, I was having trouble unmuting, but yeah, I totally resonate with what you're saying. And to address the aspect of, it's interesting you mentioned about the book of Malachi and getting into that. So there's a couple of ways we can address this. One of the things, and this will also tie into what we spoke about in terms of hell. So, okay, first to establish the fact that you mentioned something very key about the higher self and the lower self. And when we take these stories, all of these accounts in these holy books, again, as I always speak about the law of correspondence, we have to be able to apply it within. So in reference to the aspect of these angels and the lower self and things, you'll find that these speaks to qualities within. One of the aspects that I want to touch on is the aspect of light, which we're really talking about energy. Okay. In the Quran of Mecca, they speak about two forms of light. One is Nur and one is Nar, right? Light and fire, which fire is a form of light. And in Christianity specifically, fire is always looked as something of judgment, to burn you up, as a means of just destruction, basically. Okay. So if you look at it from a metaphysical standpoint, the energy that you have, and we talked about it last time about the sexual energy, the serpentine fire and all of that, this energy moving through your chakras, if you don't control it and know how to channel it, you catch what I'm saying, to raise it up to the crown chakra, you know what I'm saying, to open up that light, it can consume you into the, when you're stuck on the lower chakras and you can't raise that energy up, and that becomes your fire. You know what I'm saying? Like that old R&B song, Fire and Desire. So the fire can consume you. But if you know how to channel it properly, you can raise it up to that radiating light. So a lot of these records and these accounts kind of speak to that. You know what I'm saying? And one of the terms that's used is the word Malik, because you talked about Malachi, right? So when we look at the various words, Malik, Malik, Malka, right, it denotes either usually a king, right? And Malaika, Malachi, like you said, my angel, my messenger. So one of the terms, and we spoke about this, we actually had a conversation about this last night at the temple, was Moloch or Molech, right? Spelled in the Bible either Moloch or Molech. Okay. Also, the word Milcom. That's also another word for Molech, right? So it literally means king. It's a Semitic word meaning king, but it's also the name of an ancient deity for the land of Ammon, which is adjacent to the land of Moab. And we know the Moabites came from the land of Moab. So Moloch was worshipped by the Canaanites, the Phoenicians, and associated tribes in North Africa and the Levant. So when you look at that term, you'll find it in I think it's 1 Kings chapter 11, verse 7. You'll see the word Molech, and it's used in context to King Solomon straying after his wives, straying after the gods of Europe, of whom he knew nothing, or straying after strange gods, I should say, because these weren't European gods. These were like dealing with the Moabites, the Ammonites, all in different other tribes, and they worship strange gods. And because he fell to his lower self in lust, dealing with his wives and his concubines, he also, gave his heart to those gods. And, man's ideal is his God. So one of them was Molech, okay, which is known as the god of fire. Now, if you go to 2 Chronicles chapter 28, verse 3, you'll see that that was the god to whom those who worshipped him would sacrifice their children by fire. So the way that they would honor Molech, right? Again, this is one of those names of the descendants of Adam and Eve. Catch what I'm saying? In that context, this Molech is worshipped by people throwing their children into the fire. So the term that was used in 2 Chronicles chapter 28, verse 3 is Hinnom, right? Yeah, Hinnom. Hinnom, I believe it is. So the valley of Hinnom, right? Or they would say the children or the sons of Hinnom. From Hinnom, you get Jahannam. Jahannam in Hebrew and in Arabic was utilized as the name of hell. So this term about putting children in the fire, and that's the concept that they used. And in the Quran of Muhammad, in the 43rd chapter and the 77th verse, they use the word Malik for Moloch. Now, why am I even saying this? Because what you have here is the concept of a god of fire, right? The word Molech, which is
Malik, which is king, right? And from king, you also get the word Malak. Because you got to keep in mind, in the Hebrew language, the same words are used. The meme, the lameth, and the ka. Those three Hebrew words are used for king as well as it's used for the conversation about what you call it, as well as what you call it, as well as the aspect of angel. So I see people coming in. I just want to take the time out to say peace to everyone. You know what I'm saying? I see someone came and put in threw up a discussion, said what's up, right? So peace to everybody coming in. I want to acknowledge everybody who comes in and let that be known. But we're just having a conversation on the higher self and the lower self. Freddie Tucker, peace. Peace, family. We're talking about the higher self and the lower self in different writings and texts that basically speak to how these concepts came about. You know what I mean? And so that's just basically what you have. You know, even in the Book of Malachi, you know, they talk about the Son of Righteousness. That's in second verse of the 4th chapter, where it talks about the Son of Righteousness, and the Son is called S-U-N as opposed to S-O-N. So it's always this concept about raising your light. You know what I'm saying? And when we do with that, we're talking about raising, Freddie Tucker said, crystallization, balancing the duality of the universe, the one song. Indeed, brother. You have to, we dealing with that concept of duality, like it says in the Kabbalion, knowing the positive and the negative energies to balance that out. You know what I mean? This is where it basically comes in the concept of that. You know what I mean? We teach in Moor science. Angel is a thought of Allah manifested in human flesh. So we're talking about that divine thought manifested in the physical, right? And when you get the concept of a fallen angel, right, you're talking about levels of consciousness that are kind of degrading down, right? So we want to have that ascending angel thought, so to speak. See what I'm saying? Because that's all where it gets back into. You know what I mean? And even in the concept where they got all these different terms that are used for the descendants, you know, such as the concept of the dragon. You know, we spoke about the dragon. Again, that's made synonymous with fire. And there's different old writings that speak about that, like in the book of Isaiah, it talks about the Tanim. The Tanim was a sea beast. In the Vedas, you had the word Viritra, which is spelled V-R-I-T-R-A, which literally means the enveloper, which was a dragon or the personification of the adversary of Indra. You know what I'm saying? Indra is the leader, was the term used for the leader of the gods in heaven in Hinduism. So if you use the parallel in the ancient Kemetic text, that would be Viritra would be Apep, and Indra would be the deity Ra or Re. So these texts always speak about the aspect of, like you said, the balancing of the duality, the God self versus the carnal self. And there's always that war, you know, like in Islam, they talk about the jihad. In the book of Revelations, it's talk about the Armageddon. So these constant concepts are always brought into light. And what happened was at some point in time, these just became religious stories and people looked at it solely as from an exoteric point of view, being outside of oneself. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to it being an inner working within yourself to raise to perfected man and woman. So I just wanted to speak to that aspect that I think is important that we got to keep in mind at all times, because if we don't, you know what I mean, we kind of lose track of everything, you know what I mean? And that's something we definitely don't want to do. So I just want to, just put that out there, you know what I mean? And with that, whether Leos Bay or my brother Freddie Tucker, if y'all wanted to add to that, definitely I yield the floor.
Islamo, if the brother Mr. Tucker wants to speak on anything before I do, the floor is open. If not, I'll go ahead. Islamo, I see crystallization, balancing the duality of the universe, the one song, and sometimes I would struggle with a certain understanding. Like I knew they was one, but knowing something and then understanding something, and I'm speaking, for me and my experiences, I would know that they was one, and my lower self was so slick, it would use that balancing as an excuse to, be all right with doing things of my lower self, and at the end of the day, that would cause, states and conditions of my mental to be, what we call hell, because heaven and hell is a state of mind. Now, when we get to the functions of the soul, the soul, one of the actions of the soul is thinking, and thought is the cause of it all. So, for my portion of understanding, when the soul is doing its thinking, like I said, it creates that state of mind. But the thought, the idea being the message, and our prophet Noble Drew Ali, he's being the angel, that he's the angel that came to us to raise us up, and like I said, it's the same soul that willeth contraries. So however, he armed us with resolution, and it's to me it's a matter of being okay with letting go of things that you think you can't go without, you know what I mean, because you think you need them to function. However, that's another lie told to us by our lower self, and so just to me, it's like, just if we want to be set free, we have to deal with truth, because what health is to the body, so is honesty to the soul. And a name, the power of life or death lies within the tongue. So certain names, it's a power in the name. It's a spirit in the name of Allah. It's a spirit in the name of Lucifer, Satan, devil, dragon, and beast. And those are the descent natures. And like you said, sometimes, it depending on which self we're feeding, that's the self that's going to express. That's the self that you're going to express. And then you can't hide from nobody else. That's when the shame and things of that nature will be written on your face for the world to see. And, and for those who have elevated to degrees, that some of us may have not reached yet, that you can't, ain't no pulling the wool over their eyes. You know what I'm saying? But it's a matter of, having mercy on certain individuals. That way you can help raise them up. You know what I mean? Because, that's our whole mission, is to uplift fallen humanity. And, so something that come to mind, Islam. Something that come to mind for me is that, it says, I was riding down the road and I always see these signs say Jesus is Lord, right? And I'm like, okay, that's cool, you know. But if you really want to conquer, you know, yourself, like I said, it's about using that hammer in the workshop of the mind and taking action, but action in the right direction and acting on the right thoughts. That way, we don't give ourselves over to lust, you know, because the soul, you know, once you realize that you have a soul, once you become aware of that, once you remember that, calling to the aid, you know, calling to your aid, you know, the remembrance, you know, that you'll know and understand that the soul is chained to that carnal in a sense, you know what I'm saying? It's chained to that carnal. And once we sacrifice those carnal desires, then you know, when we sacrifice those carnal desires, then we taking the chains, you know, we taking the chains off, and now we're moving as the soul, you know what I mean? And the soul is nothing but the spirit, you know, is the spirit. The spirit is clothed in soul. So to me, it's like it's another vehicle for us to use. It's a vehicle within a vehicle. That's how I look at it. In order for us to function on those planes, but we was told that we were, you know, and we can be told something. Man knows not by being told. However, man must become what it is that he knows. But it's through those demonstrations, which is the practice of Islamism, right? It's through our practice that we get to know and become one with Allah. It's through that practice that Allah is one-on-one with us, you know, that our hands in Allah's hands. So, you know, Jesus being Lord, Jesus means justice. So, and we were informed and we got to come to know and be one with Allah and know and understand that we are the Lord. We were made the Lord of the plane of things made manifest in the things of the plane, you know, on the plane of soul. So for us to be Lord and for us to conquer, you know, our lower self, again, to me, I feel like justice is that key chapter, you know, to get on cap, because like I said, those signs I kept saying, Jesus is Lord, true indeed. Justice is Lord, and we're the Lord of this plane. In order for us to have peace within society and things of that nature, we must stand on justice. So, you know, that's just some of the things that came to mind for me, as well as speaking on the descent natures and giving in to certain, you know, like say lust and things of that nature. However, you know, what will make us one again? You know what I mean? And that's holy breath. And excuse me, Islam, you know, and that's holy breath. So, you know, once we learn how to breathe correctly, getting that breath, breathing through the nose, getting the right amount of oxygen to our physical, you know, and to the organs, then they can function properly the way that they're supposed to. And, you know, and anytime we're in a state of fear, anything, you know, anything of the lower self like that, then we're not breathing correctly. And to me, it's just a reminder that, hey, you know, man, take a second, take a pause, breathe, you know what I mean? Get your breathing right. Go back to the basics of life, which is that holy breath. And, you know, so that's just the things that come to mind for me. When I hear, you know, the things that we're discussing, and respect, freedom, and to stay humble, that's absolutely true. You know what I mean? So, and I had to learn that the hard way. However, you know, I seen a video as well, you know, dealing with Islam, and it was asked, you know, who suffers the most, and the people that suffer the most are the prophets of Allah. And, you know, and the only way off the fire is through the fire, but the fire is not a bad thing. It's a part of life, and these are the things that we must go through in order to be the strength of Allah made manifest, in order to be that angel, in order to be that king, in order to be, you know, in order to imitate the prophet. You know, we have to go through certain things so we can develop that strength. You know, so. And again, a mastermind traces himself back to the beginning of time. So if I had a fall and I came into these descent natures, you know, because man, you know, because wisdom is the consciousness that man, you know, that man is all. So man has a higher self and the lower self. That lower self is an add-on. It is what we were. It is what we never was, to me. You know what I mean? So, and with that being said, Ma, I yield the floor.
Indeed, brother. Like what you said is in terms of how we have to, perfect ourselves. That's just dealing with the aspect of perfecting ourselves. Saying, like you said, justice is Lord. Lord is ruler. You know what I'm saying? That ruler has to rule over the lower self. You know what I'm saying? We deal with 5 principles: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. You know what I'm saying? We are for love, truth, peace, freedom. And when these principles are violated, justice must take its course. So these principles, aspect of how we rule ourselves, how we govern self, the constitution of man, within our questionnaire, question is asked, Brother Freddie said, that's what makes free will such a topic. Indeed, because when you deal with the aspect of will, the choice, the ability to choose between positive and negative, good and bad, that particular function within us, really has, it has an effect, not just within, but without, changing the course of our lives. And many people don't realize it, So one of the questions is asked, what people represent the lower self? And the answer is those who were cast out of the holy city and those who accept their teachings. Now, just to touch back onto how a lot of these religious texts, for the longest time, we looked at it as being something that was an event that took place outside of us, but in reality, on a metaphysical level, it takes place within. I talked about it last week about the 21st chapter of Revelations. And in that, it speaks about a crystal city. You know what I'm saying? Where it says, basically, John seeing a holy city come out of heaven, and then it talks about, having the glory of God, and the light was like unto a stone most precious, even like a jasper stone, clear as crystal, right? And then it talks about the 12 gates. So I'm going to read that, keeping that in mind about this crystal city concept that's in the Book of Revelations. I'm going to read an actual, this is an actual blog or basically like a article on a scientific website called National Library of Medicine. So show you about the crystals are actually in you. So the title of it says, Calcite Microcrystals in the Pineal Gland of the Human Brain, First Physical and Chemical Studies. So it goes on to say, and I'm just going to read parts of it. It says, a new form of biomineralization has been studied in the pineal gland of the human brain. It consists of small crystals that are less than 20 micron in length and that are completely distinct from the often observed mulberry type hydroxyapatite corrections. Then it goes on to say, I'll just skip over, but it goes on to say, basically, in a nutshell, that the crystals are probably responsible for previously observed second harmonic generation in pineal tissue sections. The complex texture structure of the microcrystals may lead to crystallographic symmetry breaking and possible piezoelectricity. Okay, so if you look at it from this aspect, and I know this is, all technical, but when you look at yourself as this entity that is basically a walking crystal or a walking energy source, you feel what I'm saying? this energy source can empower you in such a way where you can truly manifest things, because crystals channel light. You know what I'm saying? Anyone who knows about crystals know that. So we have such an tremendous amount of potential. You know what I'm saying? That even brings back more to the aspect of when we speak about in more science, study yourselves, right? Not only your higher self, but your lower self. You're not only supposed to study the aspect of the physical body, but also study the spiritual body, but also the aspects of the physical body, as above, so below, because we're constantly finding new things just in science that was spoken about in the old texts. You know what I'm saying? All right. I want to acknowledge everybody. Carrico says hi. Peace. Hi. And Freddie Tucker says, I practice energy work, carry crystals around everywhere. Potential energy is next level. Absolutely. That energy work, you know what I'm saying? Me, myself, I have a Moldavite stone that I use, you know what I'm saying, which is a tektite. And that's extremely powerful. When I first touched it, I was able to get a surge. They call it a Moldavite surge. It's real. It's real because we are actually, we walk with crystals. You know what I'm saying? I just read from it. We have crystals within the pineal gland. So these certain aspects of these energy sources can surge through us. And we have to be mindful of that. So, basically we were talking about the aspect of actually controlling our energy, our will and our energy. So we just got into the subject matter of crystals. And I spoke about how there's crystals within the pineal gland. I just read from a science article about the pineal gland. The pineal gland that we kind of is commonly referred to as the third eye or the inner eye, and there's so much talk about, opening up your pineal gland, raising your energies and things of that nature. So, it's real, it's definitely real. And if anybody wants to look that up, that article, that's with the National Library of Medicine. You can just look up microcrystals in the pineal gland. Google that, and you'll find that article. And that came out back in 2002. So just to think about that, you know what I'm saying? I also read another article that spoke about how the brain is capable of dealing with 11 dimensions. We live in a three-dimensional paradigm, but the brain is actually able to deal with as much as 11 dimensions. Freddie Tucker said, where there's a lot about the world they don't teach you in high school. That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true, bro. Like, they never teach you about yourself. You know what I mean? They don't teach you about, even in college, they don't truly teach you about yourself. They'll teach you how to function in this matrix, you know what I'm saying, which is basically the concept of getting a job, all these other things, but they never teach you the study of yourself. You have to find that out on your own. And unfortunately, religion, while it may give you a moral base, it doesn't, as it's being taught, it doesn't give you the necessary things you need to study yourself. Though within these religious books, if you approach it from an esoteric point of view, you can actually use it to get on that journey of self-study. So, I just wanted to say that, and I'm going to pass the mic to my brother Leos Bay, you know what I'm saying, so you can add on to that.
Islamo, some people want to know what'll make them free, and that's the truth. and the truth will set you free. And the truth is another name that we is that we give to Allah. Allah is the truth. It's all things. You know what I mean? It's all things. All things being one. All of life is bound by cords. And my experience on my journey is that a lot of things that I came into at first, I may have not understood them, but as I grew in my understanding, it's the best gift that you could ever receive from your creator, and that's the knowledge of self, because knowledge of self is knowledge of Allah, knowledge of Jehovah, or whatever name that you give to your God, to your idea of that God. However, if you want to know, is this true? What is truth? You have to take the information and you have to go and do that research. And then again, once you have the research, then you have to put it into practice. Once you put it into practice, then you'll know and understand, if something is true or not. And, Jesus says, I am the message. I am the message that I bring to you. So with these thoughts and thoughts being the cause of it all, and everything is energy. Thought travels, faster than the speed of light, or at the speed of light. Some people say one of the two, but we get the idea. Islam thought traveling at the speed of light. That's very fast, extremely fast. That's what Jesus tells us in our literature, is that he changed his flesh at the basically at the speed of light. So we know and understand that it was his thoughts. It's a certain thought that raises your vibration. It raises your vibration, and everything that's a part of you is going to naturally raise with it. So it's about our thoughts. It's about managing our thoughts. It's about knowing and understanding who's listening to those thoughts, because the soul is rash and we was instructed to guard her. You see what I'm saying? Because action is her delight, and us as a spirit, you see what I'm saying? We have we have instructions to guard the soul, because like I said, it's rash. So she's gonna do whatever she wants to do. You know what I mean? But as you know what I'm saying, men of great understanding, we should be in control of ourselves. And when I say men or man, I mean male and female. So that's just something that comes to mind, is that breath, is the energy. It's what I'm saying, it's the thought, and it's raising our thoughts. Old child of the dust, would you raise yourself to? Would you raise yourself? You know what I mean? So that's just what comes to mind. Would you raise your thoughts to, that infinite, that understanding, the understanding which comes from Allah. And I have a couple of crystals and things of that myself, and yeah, they do assist us, because everything that's in the world is in us, and it's a part of us. And but to me, the thought is the ultimate, focus for me, is because again, our thoughts create our reality. And then once we come into these thoughts of how these crystals correspond to us, then we can utilize those thoughts to continue to raise our vibrations. And the main thing to me is maintaining those thoughts, that consistency and things of that nature. And I still have work to do, like many other people. And again, man, it's just a blessing to be able to have have teachers, Islam, have teachers like we do, because and I'm honored and I'm blessed to be able to know to know you and have you as my brother, because you've assisted me along the way, and I give all praise to Allah for allowing you to have that understanding to share with me and many other people, not just here but all around the world, because it's really helping us, it's really assisting us, and that's part of our mission, is to uplift and fallen humanity. And true indeed, you know, like I said, all of life is bound by cords, and everything works. Everything has a system to it, a structure to it, because law governs all events. And, you know, and that's what makes these things unique, you know, in themselves. You know, so with that being said, I just, again, I give honors to you more. I give honors to the guests, because when man honors man, he honors Allah. And I appreciate you having me today and in the past couple of weeks as well, because, you know, the things that we've been able to discuss have really helped me, you know, stay grounded and stay focused and things of that nature. And with that being said, all praise to Allah. I yield the.
Well, honest to you, brother. I appreciate you. I appreciate you, you know, your input. I appreciate your, you know, saying your insight and your desire, you know, saying to notice knowledge, man. And I appreciate everyone who jumped in on the Spotify Live, man. Freddie Tucker, you know, shout out to you, bro. Shout out to everybody, you know, who got on this. We're going to try to continue this. You know what I mean? Every week, if possible, we'll try to do something around noontime on Saturdays if we can. If we may do it another time throughout that day. But definitely, man, it's just about building, man, on this, you know, this higher level of frequency of conversation, because it's about spreading light. You know what I mean? The world is in chaos. And when you can find that light of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, overstanding, and understanding, then you can maneuver through this on such a smooth level, man. And you talked about thought. You know, that's where meditation comes in, to be able to control that thought, because thought itself is energy. You know, and the average person has a problem with controlling thought. You know, meditation does wonders as far as that's concerned. So, you know, we'll definitely be building on that, you know, in future builds. But again, I want to show appreciation you and everybody else who came on. Like I said, we passed the hour mark, but we're going to continue this again, and tune into my podcast, Masterminds with Brother Shem on Spotify, and subscribe. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel, Shem YouTube channel as well. I post these on that as well. So without further ado, I appreciate you all. Until next time, peace.